Hi everybody, this is Max with Enlight Automotive. Today we got a brand new 2015 Nissan Maxima, and in this video I'm going to show you how to install our xenon HID system into the low beam headlights. Now, in addition to the xenon HID system, a lot of the same steps are going to be needed to change the fog lights. So in this video we're actually going to change the stock fog lights over to our LED fog lights. So before we get started here, let's take a look at the stock headlights. This is an H11 halogen bulb. Now, one nice thing about the Maximas is they have this factory LED DRL, but the contrast between the yellow halogen and the white LED DRL lights, in my opinion, doesn't look that great. So not only are we going to get a better color match between the LEDs and the low beam headlights, but the xenon HID system is going to be significantly brighter than the stock halogens. So let's take a look at the products that we're going to be putting into this 2015 Maxima. So starting off with the xenon HID system, if you decide to go with the kit from Enlight, what you're going to get is 2 of the alpha 35 watt ballasts. These are very high quality, very reliable, true 35 watt ballasts. There's a lot of cheaper systems on the market that claim they're 35 watts, and the 35 watt rating is supposed to specify an output power to the bulbs. And a lot of cheaper systems, they don't actually even consume 35 watts. So if you account for inefficiencies and electrical losses, typically it turns out to be around 28 watts or less at the bulbs. So these ballasts actually provide 35 watts to the bulbs, which will give you 3,100 lumens in a 6,000 K color temperature, which is what we have here. And these bulbs are going to match the LED DRLs very nicely. In addition to the alpha 35 watt ballast, you're also going to get the second generation ARC series HID bulbs. These are 6,000K. There will be another color option, which is 4,300K. Again, this is an H11 bulb type. Now, you're also going to get the alpha series relay harness, and this is a very unique relay harness, and it comes with water seals on all the connectors. It's got a waterproof relay pack here, and you can also see that it's a genuine Hella relay, so it's not just a cheap relay. This is a good OEM quality relay. Again, it's got weather seals on all the connectors. It's got thick 14 gauge power wires and ground wires. It's got dual grounds, and it's got a waterproof fuse holder. It's got this nice black braided loom. It's a really quality piece. So in addition to that, you will also get a couple of stainless steel mounting brackets. There's 2 stainless steel mounting brackets in there, some zip ties, and some bolts. For the fog lights on this vehicle, we're going to install 2 sets of the Solar Flex LED fog light system. And this is a unique fog light system because a lot of high power LEDs on the market, they have big giant heat sinks, which is fine for some cars. This particular vehicle does have quite a bit of room behind the fog light housings for a large heatsink, but this one uses a different type of heat dissipation mechanism. The way it works is there's actually, so here's the LED die. These are Philips Lumileds MZ emitters, and there's a copper heat pipe. So it's a vacuum chamber heat pipe, and that acts like a superconductor in a sense. It has a very high thermal conductivity, and it draws heat from the LED into this copper heat dissipation belt. Now, it's copper, but it's plated, so that's why it looks silver. And what you do is you open this up inside the vehicle, and it gives you a lot of surface area for heat dissipation. And it's flexible, so that helps get around some of the space constraints that you have with the large aluminum heat sinks. Now, the Maxima has got 4 fog light bulbs, whereas most vehicles only have 2, so that's why we've got 2 sets here. So the first thing you want to do is go inside the vehicle, start the engine, and then turn the wheels all the way to the left. And here on the passenger side, what this will do is expose the inner fender well, and what we're going to do next is remove the lining. So to start off, there are these black plastic clips that look like this here. I already got this one loose, but I just want to show you that there's going to be 1, 2, and 3 up here. Is there any more? Nope, that's it. So there's going to be 3 of these black plastic clips, and what you're going to do is you're going to get a flathead screwdriver, and you're going to wedge the tip of the screwdriver in between the base of the connector and the top of the connector, and then gently pry up to separate the top and bottom half. And then the next part is just reach your fingers in, and you can pull the plastic clip out. Now the next step is to come under the vehicle on the passenger side, and there's going to be a couple of these black screws. There's going to be 4 of them. So I've already got this one loose here, but you want to take 4 screws out. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. I haven't taken this one out yet, but use a small Phillips screwdriver to remove all 4 of these screws. So next step, under the vehicle, there is a black screw here. What you're going to need is a small Phillips screwdriver to take that out. Now under the vehicle here, this is a little bit closer to the center of the vehicle. There's another black plastic clip, which is this guy here. Again, you're going to want to take your flathead screwdriver and just wedge it in between the top and bottom half of the clip until you hear it click. It may or may not click, and then use your fingers to take this out. And since we're kind of removing a lot of screws and clips here, just make sure that you keep them organized and in separate piles. Now that we've got all these clips loose, what we want to do is you'll see that there's kind of two parts to this under tray system here, and over near the wheel there are these circles here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my thumb to push and flex this piece here out on the outside of the lower lip of the bumper here, and then just gently work your way out. And you got to be a little careful that you see these white plastic clips here. You want to make sure that those stay on, or if they pop off, make sure you don't lose them. Just put them back where they came from, and just bring it all the way out to this corner here. Takes a little bit of effort. And fold this down just like that. Okay, now back on the inner side of the wheel well. I have this plastic pry tool that I like to use. You can also use a flathead screwdriver or a butter knife or something. Just be careful not to mar up the front bumper paint here. And what we're going to do is we're going to just bring the fender liner here on the outside of this lip, which will open up some room to access both the fog lights and the headlight bulb. So here you can see I'm just kind of wedging it under and sliding it down. And there we've opened up just enough space to get our arm in there. And up there you can see the low beam headlight for the passenger side. Go inside the vehicle and then pull the hood latch. And then just under here, you'll see that there's a yellow lever. What you want to do is find this yellow lever and then slide in your fingers and push it to the left or towards the passenger side of the vehicle if you're in the United States, and then open the hood. Now the order of operations for this is going to be a little strange, but that's because we're going to do the HID system and the fog lights at the same time. And space is tight on this vehicle, and you have to access both the headlights and the fog lights either from underneath the vehicle or from the wheel wells. So what we're going to do first is we're going to set up the relay harness in the engine bay, and then we'll mount the ballast and run all the connections. And at the last step, we will put in the bulbs and make the connections on both sides. Okay, starting off with the Alpha Series relay harness. Why do you need a relay harness? I get asked this question a lot. There's plenty of kits on the market where you can just buy a ballast and a set of bulbs, plug them in, and you get light out. So a lot of people think that's just fine. That's okay, but that's not the way that we do things here. We always use a relay harness wherever possible on an HID system for several reasons. The primary reason is it extends the life of the ballast. So when an HID system starts, it's a high current condition, so in order to warm up the bulb fast and vaporize the mercury inside the bulb, it draws a lot of current in the beginning. So in that condition, the relay harness draws power directly from the battery instead of going through the vehicle's factory headlight circuit, and make sure that the ballasts don't get starved from current. And in addition to that, because it's drawing power directly from the battery and it only gets a trigger from the headlight circuit, you're not putting all that strain on the car's factory electronic system. So you're protecting the ballast, you're protecting the vehicle's factory electronic system, which, at least in this vehicle, it's not designed for an HID system. So that's why we run the relay harness. So one trick that I use to install the relay harness is I'm going to just modify the ring terminals here by using a cutting tool like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the ring terminal into a U terminal. So find this connection here, which is the primary ground, the primary power wire, which also has a ring terminal, and if you want, you can do the far one. This one may not be necessary, but at least for the battery connections, it's usually easier if you turn these into a U terminal. So I'm going to cut the center section out of the ring on both of those. When you're done, they should look just like this. Okay, why did I do that? Now, on the battery here, what we're going to do is, instead of having to take this nut all the way off, we just need to loosen it a little bit. Loosen it a little bit using a 10mm socket here in the negative terminal, and then all you have to do is just slide the ring terminal on. And also here on the positive side, so there's a plastic cap here, and what you want to do is lift up on this side here from the back. There's just a little clip there and a clip here. This thing will come off. Set that aside. And for this guy here, all we're going to do is just loosen this bolt here. I believe this is a 12mm. You'll need a 12mm socket or wrench to just loosen it a little bit, and then we can slide the now U terminal onto that post. Now, you do want to make sure that you just take care of how you're routing the wires. That way, when we're all done with this, the installation looks at least reasonably neat. So what I've done is I've ran the main power wire on the inside of this gap here and route it around. That way later we can tuck it away like this. And here you can see that I've just made this connection here, and make sure that you snug this down and make sure it's not loose. And also the primary ground is here as well. Again, make sure you tighten that down. It's solid and it's not going to move anywhere. And this allows us to tuck the wires down and keep it neat. And don't forget to put back the factory positive terminal cover. So just set it on and line it with the clips and push down until it locks into place. Next step for the relay harness is to take the shorter connector or cable that looks like this, that's got the 9006 female plug on it, and the H11 input connector. And what we want to do is, again, we want to feed these cables over into the wheel well cavity, so that way when we access the wheel well, they will be there and the connections will be easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to route these cables through here, onto the side, and into this cavity where my hand is. So again, what I've done is I've tucked the cables in by the battery here and pushed them down past this battery connection here. Push them down in. Hopefully you can see that those cables are routed under here and they are in that cavity. We'll see those later. Now, you do have to make sure that the relay itself is secure, and to do that, I'm going to use this factory mounting location. I'm going to use a pliers to bend this bracket 90 degrees and then mount it to this screw here. So there's what the relay looks like once it's securely mounted. This does have to be in the vertical orientation, and also this bend here was only about 70 degrees, so it doesn't have to be a full 90. And don't crank down on this bolt too hard. This is a mount for the airbox assembly, and there's a silicone rubber grommet in there that compresses, so don't over tighten this. Just make sure it's snug and put it back to the factory torque specs. Now the next step is to route the long cable of the relay harness from the driver's side to the passenger side, and we want to keep it tucked away looking nice. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove these clips. You can use a flathead screwdriver to separate the two halves of the connector, then lift them up. You probably want to take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 will be fine, and that will just give us enough room to lift up on this panel and tuck the wires underneath. So actually I only took out four of the clips. And once you take those out, just take the cable and route it underneath here and tuck it away nicely. And when you get to this step, make sure that you bring the cable in front of the hood latch mechanism, and we'll secure this with a zip tie later. That way we make sure it doesn't interfere with the mechanism here. And just continue to feed it all the way through until you get to the inside of the screw here, like that. Or I'm sorry, not the screw, but the clip hole. And the harness cable, or the cable, will come out right here. So now is a good time to grab one of the zip ties that comes with the kit, and the cable you want to tuck right in this this bridge section here. Tuck it under, and then take a zip tie and secure it around like that. So here you can see I've got the zip tie secured around the bridge here. You do want to make sure that you put it on the right side of the hood latch mechanism, that way it doesn't interfere. So now the cable is tucked in up here, and the mechanism will function without interference. Also, once you've got the cable fed, make sure you put back all of the clips that you took out. Then what we're going to do is we'll feed the power cable into this cavity here, and we're going to run the ground cable underneath this other cover piece here, all the way over to this factory ground location, which is located under the engine cover. So there you can see there's a nice, good, solid ground. What we'll do is we'll just take a 10 millimeter wrench, just loosen up the bolt enough. I'm going to turn this guy into a U-terminal, like I did in the beginning of the relay harness prep. Should have done that, but I'm going to do that now, and then we can just slide it in and tighten it onto the ground. You can see if you come with the closed end of a wrench, you can just slide it under the engine cover here, get it on, just begin to loosen it a little bit. It's a little tedious, but it's better than taking the entire bolt out. And then if you can, slide your fingers in and just loosen it enough. Hopefully you can see that there's a bit of a space there. I've already routed the cable underneath this cover here, just slide it through. And then slide the ground cable in between the top, or in between the bottom of the bolt and the factory ground wire. Just like that, and then put your wrench back in and tighten it up. Now I've got the ground cable mounted. You can see it's routed through, and you do want to pay a little bit of attention to how you're routing the cable before you put the ground wire on. So coming from underneath this trim piece here, I've routed it underneath the the windshield wiper filler cap, and then just tuck it away down behind the headlight and feed the power cable into the wheel well area. So now most of the connections in the engine bay are complete, and all the wires are tucked away. Everything looks nice. Now what we'll do is connect the ballasts. So to prepare the HID ballast, what we're going to do is mount these stainless steel brackets to the ballast. Now these top two holes will come pre-tapped, so you can thread in the M6 bolts and attach the brackets to the ballast using a 10 millimeter socket. So once you've got the brackets attached, it should look just like this. You drive the bolt in from the backside here. So on this V6 Maxima, there's not a whole lot of space to mount the ballast. It's pretty tight, and there's not a lot of mounting locations. There's not necessarily a perfect way or location to mount the ballasts. You can mount them wherever you want, as long as they're not interfering with any moving parts and they're away from any heat sources. So that said, the location that I have selected to mount the ballast is going to be in this region here between the airbox and I believe what is the fuse box here. So there's a 10 millimeter nut here, this black nut. What I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen that nut with a 10 millimeter wrench, and what we'll do is take the brackets and mount the brackets on that bolt. So here you can see I've just got the ballast tucked in between this gap here, again between the airbox and the fuse box here, and I've got the stainless steel bracket mounted to the factory stud. Now it does help if you either use the pliers or you can use your fingers too if you got strong fingers to bend the bracket before you put it in, and bend it to the right shape so it kind of tilts back and then it goes up this way. That way it's easier to put the nut on. And when you're taking this nut off, do be careful that you don't drop it, because there's not a whole lot of space in here, but you don't want to drop that bolt down in there because you'll probably never get it back. So nice and snug, it's not going to go anywhere, and let's move on to the next step. Now we want to take the igniter for the ballast, and this is a tight fit. This is probably one of the most difficult cars that I've had to work on here. What you want to do is feed the igniter for the ballast in this gap here. Now you might have to loosen this stud again, or this nut again, to tilt it. You got to make sure that this guy is straight here. It can't be off to the side or angled, or else there won't be enough clearance. But take the 2 amp connectors and feed them into this slot here. So the goal is to take the 2 wires that are on the bottom here and make sure that they can feed over to this side of the wheel well, or inside the wheel well where the headlight bulb is. And also to make sure the installation looks clean when we're done with it. So feed these guys down, and once you get those down, again it's a snug fit, so you do have to push, but slide the igniter down into this slot here and continue to push down. And basically what you want to do is feed the cable for the igniter down as well. And once you get it through, that will bring, hopefully you can see that there, that will bring the cables for the igniter, where the yellow silicone seal is, over close to this side where we will eventually plug in the HID bulbs. Now to mount the ballast on the passenger side, unfortunately the situation is not any easier, but I think what I am going to do for this vehicle is mount the ballast underneath this trim piece here. Now to remove this trim piece, there are 3 of these plastic rivets which look like this. You can either get your fingers under here and kind of wiggle and pull it up. They're tricky to remove. It does take some effort. Or if you have a pry tool like this, that helps as well. So there's 1, 2, and 3, and that just gives you enough room to slide this out of the way. Now the plan here is to remove the bolts here for the coolant reservoir tank, and what we're going to do is feed the ballast into this cavity here. So I'm going to do that and I'll show you what it looks like. Here you can see I fed the stainless steel bracket underneath this factory harness cable here. Tighten down the bolt. It's nice and secure again, and once we get this trim piece back on, it'll be tucked away and nobody will ever know it's there. And to put this back, just line up the plastic rivets with their respective holes and then push down to lock them in place. 1, 2, and hopefully 3. And also, if you removed this this coolant overflow hose, make sure you snug it back into this clip here. Now, for these 2 cables that are coming out of the relay pack, the one with the H11 connector, you want to tuck into the fender well area over here. So to do that, you just want to feed it. You want to feed it down under here, and tuck it away nicely like that. And probably can't see it now, but we'll get to that later. We'll access that once we get into the wheel well. And this connector here, this is the ballast power connector. So in a similar fashion, we will tuck it down this way, but instead of bringing it over to the wheel well area, what we want to do is connect it to the HID ballast, which we mounted over here. So plug this guy into this guy. You do want to make sure that you see that there's a plus and a minus on the ballast. You got to make sure that the red wire is lined up with the plus and the black wire is lined up with the minus. Once the connection is made, I've just sandwiched it in between the cap here, the positive terminal cap, and this other cap over here. It sits nice and tight, it's not going to go anywhere, and it doesn't look too bad either. So once you get to this point, what you want to do is you're going to flex the fender liner here. There you see the igniter for the HID ballast that we fed through earlier, and you want to reach your hand in. Let's try to do this here. Oh. Let's focus. You want to reach your hand in, and there's a tab here where my finger is. Hopefully you can see that. You want to push down on that tab. Oops. You want to push down on that tab and then gently pull the connector off. And take the bulb, turn it counterclockwise, slide it out, and pull the bulb out like that. Now is a good time to remove the protective cover off the HID bulb. Take care when you're doing this not to touch the glass with your fingers or your gloves or anything else that has oil or dirt on it. Make sure you keep them clean. If you do accidentally touch the glass, use isopropyl alcohol or rubbing alcohol and either some cotton and a paper towel to rub off any fingerprints or dirt before installing, or else you will shorten the life of the bulbs drastically. So in the same fashion that we took the factory bulb out, what we're going to do is we're going to put the HID bulb into the socket, and this time we're going to turn it clockwise to lock it in place. So you want to feed the bulb in to the socket, so line it up with the hole, and then you got to make sure that you line up the 3 tabs that are on the bulb with the 3 tabs that are in the socket. And if you see there's a blue ceramic tube, that blue ceramic tube should be almost facing the ground or almost pointing towards the ground at a slight angle, and that is the correct orientation that the bulb goes in. Turn it clockwise to lock it in place, and there you go. Now the next step is to make the connections between the amp connectors here on the back of the HID bulb and the matching connectors on the igniter, which we fed through earlier. Who's this guy here? So here you can see 2 connectors from the igniter, and match them up or plug them in with the other 2 connectors from the HID bulb. So once you've made those connections, you can see where my finger is, 1, 2. You want to make sure that the igniter module, which is where my finger is now down here, isn't flopping around and can't fly around while you're driving or going over bumps. So what I'm going to do is take the thick cable coming off the back of the igniter and use zip ties to secure it to the chassis through this hole here. So there's a bolt, and then right below it is an empty hole, and I'm going to use a zip tie to basically pin the thick cable right at the back of the igniter to the chassis so it doesn't move around. So there you can see I've got the zip tie. It's really difficult to show the cable that's behind here, but you have to take my word for it. That's secured in. Now the next step, there at the top of the image, you see there's a 2-prong connector. That is the relay harness power cable that we fed in from before. And what we got to do is make the connection now between the power connector for the ballast and this guy up here. So I got to use 2 hands to do this, and I'll make that connection and show you what it looks like. So there you can see right above the HID bulb, I've got that connection made. Again, you got to make sure that the positive sign is lined up with the red wire, and the black cable is lined up with the negative sign. This piece here, which will come with the Enlight kit, is it's a termination plug, and it's got seals on the ends of the connector. Now, on the passenger side of the vehicle, the factory headlight plug is left unused. Now, that'll make more sense once we finish the relay harness, but what you want to do is you want to take this connector and you want to plug it into the factory headlight plug in order to prevent water and other corrosion from entering that connection. As long as we're down here, we can also access the fog light bulbs by Going to, again, flexing the panel here and going to the lower region, you can reach your arm in, and hopefully you can see this. But that opening, that gold opening in the upper right-hand corner, is one of the fog lights. Now there's two fog lights. I can't show the other one, but you do have to feel around to do this if you're gonna access the fog light bulbs this way, or you can flex the panel that we loosened before underneath and reach your arm up to remove the bulbs. Now I can't show this on camera actually inside the fender well area because the space is too tight. But the procedure is similar to removing the headlight bulb. And the way that you're going to do that, instead this time there's a connector that plugs into the bottom of the bulb, and what you need to do is there's a tab that you need to pull back, so back towards the screen, and then push the connector down. So for the low beam headlight, what we had to do is we had to push a connector, or push the tab that was on the bottom and then slide it down. But this other one is going to have a tab closer to the top of the bulb that you pull back towards the screen and then down. And once you get the connector off, you can feel around and rotate the bulb counterclockwise, and then slide the bulb out. So I do have a bit of a confession to make. On this particular vehicle, this is we're actually removing a set of Philips LED fog lights that we put in due to some issues. Now, I was expecting these to be a very high quality bulb, which they are, but this particular version is the 2700K kind of golden yellow color. Initially they looked really, really nice, but after only a week or two of driving with these on, the colored lens which is on here, the colored filter, actually fades quite rapidly. So what was originally a really nice kind of deep yellow color, it faded in to more of a stock halogen color in only a week or two. So I was really disappointed with that. These bulbs are nice only if you have the white ones, but they are fairly expensive, so we will not be using these guys anymore. And unfortunately, there's going to be no yellow option. So out with those guys and in with the Solar Flex bulbs. To prepare the Solar Flex bulbs on the passenger side, first what you want to do is you want to take off the tag that usually comes on the belt here, the heat dissipation belt, and what you want to do is open up the belt. So I'm going to open up the belt on both of these bulbs here, and I'll show you what it looks like. Here you can see I've got the belts open. This maximizes the surface area, and the way that you do this is you slide your fingers in and you pull the belt apart, you stretch it out. That gives you more volume for airflow and things like that. Now, to install these bulbs, I really wish I could show this on camera, but it's too difficult. I tried to put the camera in there, and I have to do it. You essentially have to do it blind. Again, you can either access. What I found is it's easier to access the first fog light bulb, or the one that's closest to the outside of the car, through this avenue, going in through the bottom, this opening here. But the one that's further in, this guy, I found it easier to go through the bottom. So I'm going to put these in the reverse way that we took out the factory bulbs. So what you'll have to do is usually you got to line it up at an angle like this. You got to slide it into the socket and then twist it clockwise to lock it in place. And in addition to that, well, before you put them in, you want to make sure that this connection here is made, and then you tighten the locking nut. So I've already tightened the locking nut on this connection here. And then once you get it put into the socket, you want to make the connection between the factory fog light plug and this guy here. So you do want to pay attention that this plug is asymmetric, and make sure you get the locking tab on this nub here. This view is about as good as it's going to get for what I can show you guys here. You can see that the bulb is locked into place, and the belt is spread open there. Maybe we can barely see the second one over here. Oh, there you can see the second bulb that's installed. This is challenging, to say the least. It's definitely not the easiest car that I've done, but if you take your time and be patient with it, you'll get the bulbs in, and then go ahead and make the connections where you see the yellow connectors. So once you get the connections made, here you can see you got one of the connections there, and then there's another one in there somewhere. You do want, if you can, use some zip ties to secure the LED driver modules to any of the factory cables or any location that you can find convenient. This whole process here is not necessarily convenient, but in order to do this without removing the bumper, this is what you have to put up with. There is a nice little kind of U-clip on the bottom of this plastic piece here, where you can oh, can you see this? So the strain relief on the driver module is just the right size. If you push the U-clip into the end that's closest to the box, but on this side it will kind of lock into place and hold it there, which is nice. So now that we've got both the fog lights in and the low beam bulb in on the passenger side, and we've made all the connections, now what we got to do is put everything back together. So down here on the bottom, you just want to undo or reverse everything that you did to get to this point. So you're going to want to tuck this piece in back underneath the lip here, and again, make sure you have all of these white clips in the correct position, and then just gently fold the plastic back onto the top side of the fender lip like this, and then you'll also have to get this piece here lined up. It'll take a little bit of fumbling to get it aligned just correct, and then once you do, put back all of the plastic clips and put back all of the screws into their appropriate locations. So again, to get everything put back together, make sure you get all the parts back in their appropriate locations. I've already tucked the fender liner back into the lip of the fender here, and don't forget to put back all of the plastic clips that you took out. So when they're separated like this, slide the bottom half in and then click the top back into place. And then remember, you got a couple more. There's the one there, and then there's another one up there, and put those back. Now onto the driver's side of the vehicle. Again, go inside the car, start the engine, turn the wheel all the way to the right. That will open up the fender well to do the same thing that we did on the passenger side. So again, on the driver's side, there is one clip here. You can use your flathead screwdriver to pop that out. There's another one back there, and there is a third one right there. So again, take your flathead screwdriver and wedge it in between the top half and the bottom half of the connector carefully, and it will pop out like that. Once you get it, take your fingers and gently wiggle the connector out. So again, if you take the clips out, you can use your pry tool or gently use a flathead screwdriver to separate the, or to pull the fender liner in from the lip of the bumper here. And this gives you enough room to flex the liner to access the headlight bulb, which is there, where it's the little blue sign that says Osram. Now, just like the passenger side, you want to disconnect the connector by pushing forward on the tab, or when I say forward, that's towards the front of the vehicle, and then pulling down on the connector, turn the bulb counterclockwise to take it out. Here you can see I've already got the HID bulb installed. Now what you got to do is take those two black amp connectors, and you got to find the igniter cable, which maybe you can barely see it back there if I can get it in focus. That yellow silicone, the yellow circle piece that you see back there, that is the amp cables coming from the igniter. So I'm going to reach my hand in there, grab those guys, and then connect them to the HID bulb. So here on the driver's side, there is one more final connection to make for the HID system, and this is another thing that's really difficult to show on camera just because it's so far back there. Let's see if I can get it in focus. So you see the red and black wire. That is the factory headlight plug, and on the other side of that connection is the connector that runs from the relay pack to here. Let's see if we can get that. That's the connection that we just made, and that's the trigger for the relay harness. So just to reiterate, the factory headlight plug connects to the H11 input connector that goes to the relay pack. So this connection is pretty challenging to make. You can either reach both arms in from the fender well, or I was able to get a couple of fingers down in this gap here to hold the input connector to the relay pack, and then reach in from the other side with my right arm into the fender well to make that connection. Now for the fog lights on the driver's side, they're slightly easier than the passenger side, simply because that black box is not blocking your direct path. So just like with the passenger side, to remove the stock bulbs, here you still see the Phillips ones that we haven't taken out yet, but you're going to turn them counterclockwise and then pull back, they'll come out. And then the connection here, hopefully you can barely see that, there's a plug at the bottom there. That tab is different than the tab on the low beam headlight, but take that out, take both of them out, and then you can reinstall the new fog lights just the same way that we did on the passenger side. So you can see I've got both the Solar Flex LED bulbs in on the driver's side of the vehicle. You do want to make sure that you secure the drivers. Oh, that's hard to see. You can kind of see the drivers hanging down there. I tied those drivers to the factory cable. This is hard to focus. There we go. I've tied the drivers using a zip tie to the factory cable that's coming down, kind of following my finger there, and make those connections with the factory fog light plugs, and that's it. So if you've got all the connections made correctly, go ahead and test everything. You can test the fog lights and the HID system. Now when the HID system warms up, it will have a slight blue tint, which you saw at the beginning of the video, but once the bulbs are fully up to operating temperature, everything is a very nice white, crystal white color that matches the DRLs. So both the fog lights and the HID system match the factory DRLs very well. Here we pulled the vehicle outside so you can see what it looks like at night. Now here's the beam pattern from the Xenon HID system. You can see it's a very nice clean cutoff, so there's no glare in this system. So the projectors do a really good job of handling the HID system in this vehicle. If you'd like to purchase this kit, you can go to www.enlightauto.com, go to the Browse by Vehicle section, go to Nissan, and find the 2015 Maxima.